Namaskritya Sarvadharmasvarupine Avatara-varishtaya Ramakrishnaaya te namaha Jananim Sharadam Devim Ramakrishnam Jagadgurum Padapadme Tayo Srutva Pranamami Murhomuhu Namastri Yatirajaya Vivekananda Sore Satchit Sukasvarupaya Swami Tapaharini. In our younger days, when this Deepavali festival, which is one of the biggest festivals in all over India, particularly South also. So, months before that, huge excitement. Deepavali is coming. But on that very day, from morning itself, there's a tinge of sadness. It has come, it's over now. So, we have been expecting, anticipating, Sarvapriyananda is going to come. He's come, and today is the last year of the series, but I'm sure he will come again. So, first 2 days Maharaj dealt with the first 2 slokas. Today he will take up the last sloka, then there will be question and answer. And also many of you wanted to offer pranams to Maharaj, we will get an opportunity also. So without eating into his time, I would like to hand over to Maharaj. Namaskar.
Revered Swami Shantatmanji, revered Matajis, dear friends. So this is the 3rd day of the retreat, and we are sort of 2/3 of the way through this Pratha-smarana Stotra. So like each day we'll start by reading the stotra. I'll read it out, you can repeat after me, and then we will proceed. And then we'll follow up with Q&A. Pratha-smarami vidhi-samsvarat atmatattvam. Pratha-smarami vidhi-samsvarat atmatattvam. Satchit sukham paramahamsa gatim turiyam. Satchit sukham paramahamsa gatim turiyam. Yat swapna jagara sushuptim aveiti nityam. Yat swapna jagara sushuptim aveiti nityam. Tad brahma nishkalamaham na cha bhuta sangha. Tad brahma nishkalamaham na cha bhuta sangha. Pratar bhajami manasa vacha samagamyam. Pratar bhajami manasa vacha samagamyam. Vacho vibhanti nikhilaya danugrahena. Vacho vibhanti nikhilaya danugrahena. Yanneti neti vachanai nigamavochan. Yanneti neti vachanai nigamavochan. Tam deva devam ajamachyutamahuragriyam. Tam deva devam ajamachyutamahuragriyam. Pratar namami tamasah paramarkavarnam. Pratar namami tamasah paramarkavarnam. Purnam sanatana padam purushottamakhyan. Purnam sanatana padam purushottamakhyan. Yasmin idam jagadashesha shesha murtau. Yasmin idam jagadashesha shesha murtau. Rajvam bhujangamiva pratibhasitam vai. Rajvam bhujangamiva pratibhasitam vai. So in the first verse we saw Satchit Sukham Paramahamsa Gatim Turiyam. The goal of the Paramahamsa Sannyasi, the goal of the Vedantic seeker is to realize that I am Turiyam, the 4th. What is that Turiyam? Existence, consciousness, bliss, our real nature, ourself. What is this enlightenment that is expressed in the 4th line of the first verse? Tad brahma nishkalamaham nacha bhuta sangha. I am not this conglomeration of matter called the body and also the mind. The body and mind are both conglomeration of matter, a collection and organization of matter, bhuta sangha. That's what we identify ourselves with. And enlightenment is the shifting of this identification to Brahman. Tad Brahma Aham, Aham Brahma. What kind of Brahman we discussed last time? Nishkalam, partless. We discussed what is the meaning of partless, indivisible yesterday. What is enlightenment? In one way, it is the shifting of the reference of the I. When we use a word, it refers to something. When we say bottle, it refers to this thing, this object. When we say shirt, it refers to this. When we say I, vertical I, not this. When I say I, what does it refer to? So yeah, so some of you are going, yes, me. But what does that mean? What are you pointing to? Does it refer to the body? So usually it refers to this body-mind. That's what we think we are. We don't have any doubt. Advaita Vedanta work starts there. It works on deconstructing, on analyzing our identification with this body and mind and showing us, by educating us, that we are not this body and mind. We begin to see that we are not this body and mind, rather we are this witness consciousness, which is existence consciousness bliss. The Turiya, which is the witness of the waking, dreaming, deep sleep, and that Turiya itself, that witness itself, is Brahman, existence consciousness bliss. So this shifting of the reference of the I is enlightenment. Before enlightenment, for us, I means this body and mind. After enlightenment, after Brahma Jnana, the I will refer to the witness consciousness or Brahman, existence consciousness bliss. What does I mean? The self, the term I, what does it mean? What does it refer to? In Panchadashi, Vidyaranya Swami says, there are three meanings of I. Three meanings of I. One meaning for unenlightened people, people in ignorance, and two meanings for those who are enlightened. When we say I, if we are in ignorance, it means one thing only for us. This one. Just now we all said when some of you were pointing, this one. So this one, it means I means this one for us. But for the enlightened one, the one who has realized Brahman, realized that I am Brahman, I means Brahman. That is the primary meaning of I. Second meaning, first meaning of I, for ignorant people, for people in Ajnana, body-mind. And for enlightened people, second meaning of I is what it means for enlightened persons. It means I am Brahman. I am the witness consciousness. I am Atman, not body-mind. Third meaning of I, also for enlightened people, when they use I in a secondary sense, transactional sense, in order to transact with us, in order to function in this world, then what does it mean? It means the body-mind of the Jivan Mukta. The body-mind of the Jivan Mukta, but not like us. When we say, I am this is, we are, there is no other vikalpa, there is no other meaning for it. It's straightforward, I am this body-mind. But for the enlightened person, only in a transactional sense. If you press them, are you really this body-mind? They will say no. What are you? I am Brahman. And the effects are, the difference is huge because the benefits flow from this identification. If we identify with body-mind, we will suffer along with the body-mind. Upanishad says, Anusamjore, we are fevered with the body-mind. The body-mind is like a fire burning. In Uttarakhand, in Himalayas, when a Mahatma dies, the language they use is unka sharir shant ho gaya. As if this body-mind is like a fire which is burning. Now shant ho gaya. But for the enlightened person, the example I have often given, we have all read, Sri Ramakrishna suffering from terminal throat cancer, and Swami Turiyananda, Hari, he comes and asks, how are you today, sir? And Sri Ramakrishna says, it hurts and I cannot eat. Then Hari, for some reason, he says, but sir, I see you are in great bliss. Which is a strange thing to say to a terminal cancer patient. And what is even more strange, Sri Ramakrishna immediately agrees. He says, oh, the rascal has found me out. In Bengali, he said, Charal Thoren lise. What does that mean? Is he lying when he says, this hurts, I cannot eat? He's not lying. Literally, just like any other cancer patient, same suffering is there. But also he is not lying when he acknowledges that he is in bliss. How is it possible? In the third sense of the of I, third meaning, secondarily referring to body mind, he's saying, yes, it hurts, I cannot eat. And in the second sense of the I, the Brahmajnani says, when the Brahmajnani means I really, I am Brahman. From that witness consciousness perspective, the Turiya perspective, no cancer, no tumor is there, no pain is there, nothing. You are Purna, full of bliss. This story has been repeated often, but there is another part of it which I was reading, which often is not quoted. Turiyanandaji Hari was bothered by this, and he asked again later on. And I found it in Jivan Mukti Sukhaprakti. So Turiyanandaji is saying, I asked him more directly, Apnar ki esham anubhav hoy? When he's lying sick, dying, do you feel the pain and the discomfort? And one doctor told me, throat cancer is a particularly nasty form of cancer because we are continuously swallowing our saliva. When there is cancer, tumor, you can't even swallow the saliva. Continuously it will pour out of the mouth. So, and of course, this is a minor discomfort compared to the actual pain. Then you cannot eat also. So all these things are terrible. So Hari Maharaj is, Hari, that young boy at that time, he is asking Sri Ramakrishna, Apnar Kesham Anubhav Bhai, are you experiencing it? Like we will experience, are you experiencing it? And Sri Ramakrishna's answer was very interesting. He said, O tomar ki katha, what kind of talk is this? Shorir ki kakano sadhu hai, moni sadhu hai. Does the body ever become spiritual? Not in the sense of spiritual. It is the mind which becomes spiritual. So, the body will keep on undergoing these changes and finally it will die. For everybody. Now in the mind dawns knowledge. In the mind itself dawns bhakti. In the mind itself dawns samadhi. All those things which you do in yoga, it comes in the mind. And it releases you from suffering. Suffering and release of suffering is in the mind. So, yes. Shift in the reference of the I. Here he says, Na bhuta sangha, aham na bhuta sangha. I am not this conglomeration of matter. That's the first meaning of I. But then what am I? Tad Brahma nishkalam aham. I am that Brahman which we have talked about, existence, consciousness, space. Therefore, from that perspective, I have no suffering at all. And Sri Ramakrishna says, oh, the rascal has found me out. And enlightened ones, Jivan Muktas, are so strongly settled in their realization that I am Brahman. We often complain, I have understood it is theoretical. But sometimes I get it, it goes away. Or in the class it is there, but after when I leave the class, nice air conditioned, I am Brahman. Step outside, 42 degrees. No, Brahman disappears. But for the enlightened ones, Swami Shivanandaji, in his old age in Belur Math, suffering terribly from asthma in his old age, whole night he could not sleep. The word got around that President Maharaj is not doing well, he is suffering. Next day in the morning, the sadhus have come for pranams, to pranams to Maharaj. And they say, someone says, Maharaj, how are you today? And he said, I'm Bhalachi, I'm fine. They were a little puzzled, but he heard whole night you suffered. He had to sit with pillows in the back, and whole night you suffered, he heard. Then he looked as if a great realization dawned on him. He said, oh, you mean this body? Not good at all. He has to be reminded that this body is you, and so how are you? How are you means how is this body? But he has to make the connection. So much considering the body as an object. Then the next verse, second shloka, we saw how Brahman, our reality, is not an object of language and not an object of the mind. It cannot be grasped by the mind, it cannot be expressed by language. And we saw why it cannot be expressed by language. We saw that yesterday, I will not go through all that. 5 factors where language operates and none of them pertain to Brahman. And even if words cannot refer to Brahman, the scriptures do manage to refer to Brahman skillfully using methods like the negative approach, not this, and other methods. We discussed a little bit of that. We also touched upon why consciousness, Atman, Brahman, cannot be grasped by the mind. Because you remember, it's not an object of the mind. It cannot be grasped by the mind. Mind itself is illumined by consciousness. But mind cannot conceive of, cannot think, cannot grasp consciousness in thought or Atman in thought. And we also touched upon what role the mind plays in enlightenment. Just touched upon, if you remember, Vritti Gyapti, Phala Gyapti, what the mind can do, what the mind cannot do. Okay. Now, the last shloka. Pratar namami tamasah paramarkavarnam purnam sanatana padam purushottamākhyam. In the morning I salute. Very strange. You can salute Shiva, Devi, Sri Ramakrishna. You're saluting yourself. What kind of narcissistic megalomaniac? Yes, we're saluting our real nature, which is so amazing. Pratar namami. I'm just reminded of another thing I read. Again, that reference of the I. Swami Turiyananda ji is saying, Swami Vivekananda যখন আমি বলতেন উনি সবটাকে নিয়ে বলতেন, that the cosmic I or the I of pure consciousness. Swami Vivekananda, whenever he said I, he meant that. And then Turiyananda ji says, Turiyananda, the staunch Vedantic, he says, আমাদের অত আসে না. It doesn't come so easily to us. তাই আমি বলি তুমি, thou. The same I, he knows very well. He has realized it through Vedanta Vichara, through Samadhi, he has realized Aham Brahmasmi. But generally he prefers to say, you my mother, thou art my mother, to that same consciousness. You are that pure consciousness with this body and mind, it is called Turiyananda. The same pure consciousness with the power of Maya is called Mahamaya, the Divine Mother, the creator, preserver and destroyer of this world. And Turiyananda says, I prefer to say thou, because automatically that doesn't come to me. I am Brahman. Who is saying? Turiyananda. But he says it's possible that I can refer automatically to Brahman. Vivekananda had that naturally, he says. Now, you are saluting. You can say, even to Brahman, you can salute and say, you, thou my Lord, though knowing that I am that one. And again, we will immediately be reminded of Hanuman, when Ramchandra asks Hanuman, what do you think of me? What is your idea about me? And Hanuman says, Deha buddhya dasoham, jiva buddhya gavanshaka, atma buddhya tvamevaham, iti me nishtitavati. As this body, this Hanuman person, I am your servant, you are my Lord. Ramachandra, avatar of Vishnu, you are my Lord, I am your servant. As a jiva, this conscious sentient being who is in this body, as Hanuman in this birth, but has been maybe something else earlier. As a jiva, I am part of you. You are the whole of which I am a part. Upanishad also says like a bonfire, thousands of sparks emanating from a bonfire. All the sparks have the same nature as the bonfire. Pure consciousness, Brahman, limitless consciousness, you emerge from that as a part. You are also consciousness, but it's the same nature as Brahman. But you are a part of Brahman, not the whole of it. Not it, and not identical. That is Jiva Buddhya. And Atma Buddhya Tvamevaham. Atman is Brahman. In my real nature, you and I are the same reality. Aham Brahmasmi. Which is correct? Which is correct? All three are correct, depending on your perspective. So when you are firmly set in the body, it's perfectly alright, even for the Jivan Mukta, even for the Brahmagyani, to say, I am the devotee, you are my Lord. You will not say, I used to think that, but now I am Brahmagyani, I have transcended that, I am no longer devotee. No, it's not necessary to do that. And it's also perfectly right to say, I and thou are one reality. There was one sadhu, Shantinath, he used to come to Turiyanandaji in Benares. He used to argue strongly about Advaita Vedanta. He was a staunch Advaita. And Turiyanandaji, of course, also was an Advaita. Then when Turiyanandaji recited this verse, Hanuman said, so the first one, as a body I am your servant, you are my Lord. It is Dvaita, the dualistic approach. You are separate from me, you are the Lord of the universe, you are an avatar, I am your devotee. And the second one, I am part of you. You are the whole, I am your part. That is Vishishtadvaita. Part and whole relationship, Shesha Sheshi Angangi relationship. And Atma, from Atma Buddhi, I and you are one, as pure consciousness. This is what is being talked about here. Turiyananji recited this, and then Sadhu said, but that's not the meaning. Turiyananji smiled and said, what is the meaning? The meaning is, as body I am your servant. As a jiva I am a part of you. But I am not body, not jiva. No, the whole Advaita is that only. Mano buddhi hankar chitta nina. As consciousness I am you. So the meaning of that is that wrong idea as a body, I think wrongly that I am a devotee, you are my master. Wrong idea as the jiva, you are the whole, I am your part. The correct idea is I am Atman, I and you are one. Turiyanandaji burst out laughing. It's there. Just burst out laughing and said, Besh, Besh, have it, he said it's an English translation, have it your own way. Chikaji, you can follow that also if you like. Alright. So, Namami. All this is to explain why Namami. You can go on. Namami. See, this has very deep Vedic roots. This I got from the philosopher Arindam Chakravarti. In the Karma Kanda, Namaha means Namama, Idam Indraya, Idam Namama. When you do Upasana, when you do Karma Kanda, when you do Yajna in the Vedic system, you are offering to the deity. What is an offering? You can only offer that which is yours. You are giving up ownership, Swattva, over that item. Na mama namaha means that. Idam Indraya, this is for Indra or Vayu or Agni. This is not mine. The whole act of worship is transferring, is surrendering ownership. I surrender this unto you, my Lord. Na mama namaha. And when you take it to Jnana Kanda, Upanishads, Vedanta, Namah becomes equal to Mahavakya. When you give up your body, mind, the prana, the mind, the intellect, the causal body, then what happens? When you say, not mine, I offer this unto you, then I and you become one. You lift the stick dividing the river from this side to that. Lift it, it's one river. It was always, but it gave the illusion of separateness. When I discard the illusion of separateness, I say Namaha is equal to Aham Brahmasmi. This is Namaha from Karma Kanda view, Namaha from Jnana Kanda view. Pratar Namami, Tamasah Paramarkavarnam. Tamasah Paramarkavarnam. Beyond darkness. Gosh, I have not given you the English translation of the whole shloka. Let me give you that and then. In the morning I salute that blazing sun forever beyond darkness. Purna, the whole, the infinite, the limitless. Sanatana Padam, the eternal reality. Purushottamakyam, which is designated Purushottama. Yasmin idam jagadashesha shesha mutto, the entire universe without exception shines in that Sanatana Padam, in that blazing sun. It shines there. How? Rajvam bhujanga viva pratibhasitam vai. Just like a snake appears in the rope. Pratibhasitam, by error. Not seeing the rope as a rope, we mistake it for a snake. Not seeing Brahman as Brahman, we mistake it for word. Yeah, including this body, mind. So, this is the meaning of the shloka. Now let us go into it carefully. Tamasah Paramarkavarnam. I salute that blazing sun, forever beyond darkness. Tamasah Param. It immediately reminds us of Swami Vivekananda's favorite quotation, which we often quote. Swami Vivekananda drew from the Upanishads when he would try to explain what is spirituality, Vedantic spirituality. Shrinvantu Vishve Amritasya Putraha Aye Dhamani Divyani Tastu Vedaham Purusham Mahantam Aditya Varnam Tamasah Parasta Tameva Veditva Ati Mrityumeti Nanya Pantha Vidyate Ayanaya. He says, listen ye children of immortal bliss. Even the Devatas, if you live in heaven, the Devatas who live in heaven, You also listen, because what I am saying is beyond the knowledge of human beings and devatas also. So some rishi is saying, Brahmagyani. What is he saying? Vedaham Purusham Mahantam. I have realized that infinite being. What is that infinite being? Aditya Varnam, blazing forth like the sun, just like here. Param Akka Varnam, blazing forth like the sun. Not with the material light, but the light which is consciousness, which is limitless existence awareness. Aditya Varnam. Tamasah Parastat, forever beyond darkness of ignorance, of sorrow, of want, of misery, of death, limitation and death. Forever beyond the darkness of samsara. Tamasah Param. Tamasah Parastat in that. And then what happens? What's the result of all this? Tameva viditva ati mrityumeti. Having realized that, one goes beyond death. One goes beyond death. One discovers that which is deathless. Our real nature, which is deathless. Any other way? Nanya pantha vidyate ayanaya. There is no other path. There is no other path to this result, to go beyond death and suffering and sorrow. So, this is Tamasah Paramarkavarna. I salute that. Just one more point about this. A subtle point. So one may ask this question. Alright, I surrender. I admit I am Brahman, but I don't know it, and you Vedanta, you will teach me how to realize that I am Brahman. Brahman is the reality. If I am Brahman, I am really beyond all suffering, all problems. Like Sri Ramakrishna in the middle of cancer, also I can say I am in bliss. Only problem is I don't know it. So this much must be admitted, that Brahman has ignorance. I am Brahman and I don't know it right now, so I have ignorance. Atman, consciousness, Brahman has ignorance. This seems strange. Today there was a talk at IIT Delhi. So I gave the example of the sun appears to be covered with a patch of cloud. So actually the sun is not covered. Our vision is obstructed by the patch of cloud. That's the meaning of the example. Then a bright young person, he asked a question. How did the cloud emerge from the sun? He knows, he's not talking about sun or cloud. He's talking about Brahman and ignorance. How did Brahman fall into ignorance? How did ignorance emerge from Brahman? And the answer is given here. Tamasah param arkavarnam. Forever beyond the darkness of ignorance is this consciousness, Atman, Brahman, blazing forth. What does it mean? It means Brahman or consciousness, Atman is never in ignorance. Ignorance is always at the level of the mind. Knowledge is also at the level of the mind. Brahman or Atman does not need your knowledge, because Brahman or Atman does not have ignorance. The sun is not obstructed by the cloud. Cloud is in front of us in the atmosphere, then a wind cloud comes and removes the cloud. Sun was always untouched by it. If you ask the sun, how did you become obstructed by the cloud? Sun will say, what cloud? I am not aware of any cloud. Even your earth is like a dot compared to me. And in that dot, the cloud is just another little patch. What is it to me? Shankaracharya's boy disciple, Astamalaka, only one of his disciples was younger than him. He was already enlightened when he met Shankaracharya. So Shankaracharya asked him, he saw this boy. His parents thought he was autistic. And he was not going to school, not talking with friends, just sitting quietly. So they asked Shankaracharya to help. And when Shankaracharya saw this boy, he realized he is already a Brahmagyani. He's a Jivanmukta. And so he asks, who are you? Why have you been born here? What is your purpose? Kastvam Sisho, Kudayata. And then for the first time the boy speaks, of course in fluent Sanskrit. And he composes this Hastamalaka Stotra. Very beautiful, highest Advaita. He says, I am Atman. I am not a brahmachari, not a grihastha, not a vanaprasthi, not a sannyasi. I am not a brahmana, kshatriya, vaishya, shudra. Nitya upalabdhi swarupo aham atma. He says, Vijabodha rupam. I am the ever experienced Atman as your own consciousness. And then towards the end of that stotra, he says, Ghanachanna drishtim, ghanachanna arkam, yatamanyate cha Mura drishte, chati mura drishte. Tatha baddhavat bhati, yo mura drishte, nityopalabdhi swarupo hamatma. He says, just as your vision is obstructed by the cloud, ghana chandra drishti, and the fool thinks cloud is covered by the sun is covered by the cloud. I cannot see the sun because cloud is obstructing my vision. Here, it does not mean that cloud is covering the sun. The sun is ever blazing forth. In exactly the same way, it is the unenlightened person who thinks, I do not experience myself as the Atman, which the same cloud is illumined by the same sun, which is supposed to be covering. How do you see the cloud at all? By sunlight. Follow this. How, right now, if you say, but I am ignorant, right now I feel I don't know the Atman. I am aware of my ignorance. And the argument is, then awareness is illumining the ignorance. Ignorance is not hiding the awareness. Tamasa paramarka varnam. Consciousness, Atman, Brahman, is forever beyond and untouched by ignorance. It's a strange, paradoxical situation which the jivas, Brahman, as a jiva, seems to be under the influence of ignorance. Okay. Purnam sanatana padam purushottamakyam. Purnam. This is a wonderful term. Wonderful term. I remember as a kid, I used to go to the Bhuvaneshwar ashram as a little boy. And in the old temple there, before the big new temple was constructed upstairs, we would enter, and there was an empty room, and in that, on a wooden plaque, that Shanti mantra was written. Purnamada Purnamidam Purna Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamalaya Purnameva Vashishyate. I found that fascinating somehow. I'm not very sure I understood what it was, but I was a little boy. I could read Devanagari in Sanskrit, we were learning in school, so I could read it. I still remember standing fascinated in that little bare room with sunlight streaming through the cool wooden, stone floor actually it was, beneath my bare feet, and looking at that board and thinking, and sort of, I don't know, I must have seen it in my past life or memorized it, something like that. It resonated deeply. This is Purna, this one, this universe. Purnamidam. Purnamada. That one is Purna. The source of this universe is Purna. Purna Purnamudachyate. From that Brahman, Saguna Brahman, this universe, Vishwamidam, this universe has emerged. This is the Advaitic doctrine, Vedantic doctrine. The cause of this universe is Brahman. Avinna nimittopadana karana. The material cause of that podium is wood. The intelligent cause of that podium is the carpenter who made the wood into the podium. But in Vedanta says the universe has one material and intelligent cause, one and the same. It is Brahman, Satchidananda with the power of Maya, which projects this universe. The material is Brahman and the creator is also Brahman. And the example they give is spider. Spider spins a web. Yatornanabhi srijate grinhate cha. Mundakopanishad. In Mundakopanishad it said, how does this word emerge from Brahman? As the spider spins a web. Now notice, the material of the web is the spider's own body. It produces that web. And the designer of that web is the spider. The jiva called the spider, intelligent being called the spider, spreads the web. Similarly, consciousness with the power of Maya. So the material of this thing is existence itself, this universe. And Ishvara is the designer of this universe also. Avinna nimittopadana karana. Not separate. In the spider and the web case, the cause of the material cause of the web is the spider itself, and the intelligent cause of the web is the spider itself. One British Indologist said, the Hindus worship spiders. That is not true. And there's nothing wrong in worshipping a spider, but we don't. And there are many animal forms of deities, but spider is not among them. It's an example. Yatha urnanam yatha. Just like that. Tathaksharat sambhavati vishwam. Just like that, from akshara arises this entire universe. So, now it says, once you realize the Purnam here, See, that is Purnam, the source of this universe. But when it becomes, or when this universe emerges, this which we are experiencing, this is also Purnam. And if this is Purnam, you can recognize the Purnam here. You can find out the Purnam here. Once you recognize the Purnam here, you will realize Purnam alone exists. One commentator made this beautiful analysis. He said, look at this. Purnat Purnam Udachyate. From the Purna, what has emerged? The Purna. From the cause comes the effect. Usually cause and effect have different words. From the seed, you don't say from the seed comes the seed. From the seed comes the plant. From the wood comes the podium. Two words you will use. But the commentator said, notice the same word has been used. From Purnam has come. He didn't say word has come, we have come. No, from Purnam has come Purnam. Purna Purnam Udachyate. Therefore, pointing to the fact Brahman is beyond causality. Causality, cause and effect is an appearance. Cause and effect is an appearance. Nothing has actually happened. From the Paramartha Drishti, from the ultimate standpoint, Brahman alone exists. We think a word has emerged from Brahman, but the word which has emerged from Brahman is exactly the same Brahman. As nothing has happened. Alright. Purnam. Hinduism is, Swami Vivekananda said, we worship a transcendent imminent God. Transcendent imminent God. Transcendent imminent God means God who is beyond creation, beyond space, time and object. And a God who is in and through creation. Here. Purnamadaha, Purnamidam, here. So transcendent and immanent. And it's the same reality, which appears as transcendent beyond space, time and causation, and in and through space, time and causation. And therefore, since that reality is all of this, it can be worshipped in infinite ways. And to say, Sri Ramakrishna, he would say, one of the things which he would insist upon, you must never limit the nature of the infinite. Iti kotteni. You cannot say God can be this and cannot be that. If your religion says that God is with form, well, God is formless, cannot have any form, God is formless, cannot have any form, your religion is not Purna. If your religion says God can only have male form and not female form, your religion is not Purna. If your religion says God can be worshipped only as formless, never or at least in human anthropomorphic form, not in an animal form, your religion is not Purna. I asked pastor there in America, why cannot God be female? Because we have a very ancient tradition of mother worship in India, Devi. It's very natural for us Hindus. But why can't God be worshipped in the female form? You also admit ultimately God is not anthropomorphic. So why can't you have a female form for God? And you know what he answered half seriously? He said, oh, we always have this concept of the heavenly voice from heaven, the booming voice of God. It's a very strong masculine voice. You can't imagine a high-pitched, squeaky female voice giving commandments from heaven. What a silly way of looking at it. And he also knew it was silly. But see, it's somehow, culture is so powerful, even if you understand it's illogical, but if you have consistent centuries and millennia of thinking God as masculine, very difficult to shift that feeling. Male or female, with form or without form, with human form or with non-human forms. Here we worship God in multiple human forms, male forms, female forms, male and female form, Ardhanarishwaran, animal forms, in the forms of the elements as fire. God is worshipped as fire. God is worshipped as space. God is worshipped as earth. God is worshipped as water. So, Purnam. And beyond all of this, completely transcendent, Nirguna Brahman. All of this, full spectrum. So he says, Purnam, Sanatana Padam, the eternal. Eternal in what sense? First of all, it's not the changing, waking, dreaming, deep sleep. It is that which illumines changing, waking, dreaming, deep sleep. It is that which illumines the ever-changing gross universe, subtle universe, and the causal universe. It illumines all of that. Sanatana Padam. Sanatana means eternal, but also a deeper meaning is this. Generally, when we hear eternal, we feel nityam, eternal, sanatana. We mean something which lasts for a pretty long period of time and continuously lasts through time. That's not what it means. It means time itself is an appearance in consciousness or in Atman or in Brahman. It does not mean like all these things are there in this universe. Some of them last longer, some of them last for a shorter period of time. And Atman or Brahman is something that lasts throughout time. Is one more item, which is a very long-lasting item with a very long, distant expiry date. Not in that sense. Brahman is that reality in which space and time are also appearing. So, Sanatana Padam, Purushottamakyam. This is a reference to the 15th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, Purushottam Yoga. So there, three kinds of Purushas have been mentioned. Kshara Purusha, Akshara Purusha, Purushottama. Kshara Purusha, Kshara means the destructible, perishable, ever-changing. Who is that? Us. He says, with these bodies, sentient beings with the bodies which are born and age and die, and they take birth again. These are Kshara Purusha. They are going through birth and death. This is one level. The same consciousness associated with Maya is called the Ishvara, Bhagavan, the creator, preserver, destroyer of this universe. That is the second higher Purusha, called Akshara Purusha, the imperishable Purusha. And there is one beyond both, beyond Jiva and Ishvara also, Nirguna Brahman, that is called Purushottama. So three levels, Kshara Purusha, Akshara Purusha, Purushottama. Kshara with these bodies as upadhis, consciousness with these bodies, you and I. Akshara, consciousness with Maya itself as upadhi, Ishvara, the creator, preserver, destroyer of the universe, omnipotent, omniscient, omnipresent. And finally Purushottama, which is just pure consciousness, which is what we are saluting here. Radha Namami, Tamasah Paramartha Varnam. We are saluting Purushottama, pure consciousness. Remember, Jiva and Ishvara, Akshara Purusha and Akshara Purusha, Akshara Purusha us, Akshara Purusha the Lord. The two are the same only as Purushottama. In this universe, we are Jivas and the Lord is the Lord. As long as you are associated with body and mind, we are Jivas. Then you have to say like Hanuman, Dasoham, I am the servant of the Lord. And in knowledge, when we realize that I am Purushottama, I and Purushottama are one, Ishvara is also Purushottama. In that sense, I and Ishvara are one. So Purushottama. Then finally, one more point, a very deep one, controversial one. I will touch upon it. Not touch, we will go a little bit into it and then conclude. Yasmin nidam jagadashesha shesha bhutto rajvam bhujangamiva pratibhasitam vai. In that Purushottama, in that Sanatana Padam, in that Purnam, in that Tamasah Paramartha Varnam, what is going on? This universe is shining. These worlds, all these millions, myriads of living beings, this whole drama of samsara, through ages, through millennia, rise and fall of civilizations, and the birth and death of stars, all of it is shining in this Purushottama. How? Like a snake appearing in a rope. By error, by illusion, like a dream, not really. The rope is never a snake. It's only by mistake. Only when the rope is not recognized, it appears as a snake or something else. When rope is recognized as a rope, then the snake disappears. Similarly, this universe itself is Brahman. It's not that there is a separate God somewhere else. In order to point out God, the source of this universe, we say there is a source of this universe which is separate from it. The clay and pot example. Shankaracharya gives the clay pot example in Aparokshanubhuti. He says, the pot is perishable. It was created, it will destroy. But there is something imperishable in that pot. What is that? The source, the karana, the cause, the material of that pot, clay. Pot is perishable, clay is not perishable. Before the pot was created, it was clay. When the pot is there, it is pot or clay? Clay, with the pot name and form and use. And after the pot is broken, what is it? Clay. So clay is imperishable compared to the pot. But the clay and the pot are same reality. In dualistic religion, what happens when he says God is the creator of the universe? This idea is created in our mind. Here is the universe, and there is some God. Like saying, here is the pot, and there is something called clay. But there in the pot itself. Alan Watts said, if you consider them separately, if you just stop there, there is a cause of the pot which is called clay. You stop there. There is a cause of the world, ruler of the world called God. You stop there. He calls it the crackpot theory. Because you keep searching for a God apart from this pot. So here itself is the reality which is shining forth as the world. This is the doctrine, the great Advaitic doctrine of Jagat Mithyatva, falsity of the world, which many people are very scared of, they misunderstand or they don't like it and they oppose it. We will see, try to understand this Jagat Mithyatva, this world, the universe is an appearance in Brahman, like a snake appearing in a rope. What is this doctrine? What is its use? We'll try to understand. What's the point of it? We'll understand at two levels. First a preliminary, then a deeper level. So Jagat Mithyatva is just this. In ignorance, what is Brahman is regarded or seen as universe. In ignorance, what is a rope is sometimes mistaken as a snake. Need not be a snake, could be something else also. Jagat Mithya. Alright. What is the utility of this Jagat Mithya, falsity of the world? Why is it stressed so much in Advaita Vedanta? For two reasons. One reason, Vairagya, dispassion. Vairagya, dispassion for the world is central to spirituality. Swami Vivekananda says, all yogas start with Vairagya, dispassion. The karma yogi's dispassion is that he gives up all selfish desires and works selflessly for the world. That is, then karma becomes karma yoga. When we give up, renounce, have Vairagya, give up our selfishness. Bhakti yoga, he says, begins when we have Vairagya, we give up all these hundreds of desires we have for one almighty love of God. All the same desires are now channeled towards God. Instead of I love the world, things in the world, people in the world, activities in the world, possessions in the world, that is, I love the world and divided into 100 streams. The world is pushed out, Vairagya, and God is put in that place. So I love God. That becomes Bhakti Yoga. Desire becomes Bhakti. Raja Yoga's Vairagya is Raja Yogi says, the mind, the eyes want to see. Raja Yogi says, I will not see. Ears want to hear. Tongue wants to taste. Nose wants to smell. Skin wants to touch. I will not see, hear, smell, taste, touch. The mind wants to think. Intellect wants to cogitate. Stop it. Chitta vritti nirodha. The Vairagya, dispassion of the Raja Yogi is to reject all experiences and calm down the mind, turn it inward in Samadhi. That is Raja Yoga. And the Jnana Yoga's Vairagya, this one, which we are going to talk about, is the very beginning to regard this entire world display as that only, a display. It's not real. Pratibhasita, Jagat Mithyatva. The world is transitory, no doubt about it, anitya. But that is not enough to develop the feeling of dispassion for the world. After all, say I have a desire for a laddu. Who wants an eternal laddu? Or if the laddu lasts for 10 seconds, it's enough for me. I want to taste that laddu for 10 seconds. So even if the laddu is not eternal, fine, Jagat can be, world can be, it better be non-eternal. I don't want anything or anybody eternally there. So temporary, if it comes, enough to satisfy my desires, good enough for me. So impermanent, we all know that, and that does not take away our desire for worldly things. But Mithyatva immediately takes away all desire. When we wake up from a dream, it could be a very pleasant dream. The moment we wake up from it, we have total vairagya for whatever happened in the dream. If we get $1 million or $1 million rupees in a dream, and we wake up, we say, oh, I have complete dispassion for that $1 million rupees. I can donate it. Why? Because I know it's not real. I know it's not real. The moment I realized the falsity, I experienced it. But when I experienced the falsity of it, then I have complete dispassion immediately. Anything I know is not there, is just appearing like that, but it's actually not there, I have dispassion for it. Vairagya for it. Without vairagya, one cannot become enlightened. One cannot become a karma yogi, bhakti yogi, raja yogi, and certainly not jnana yogi. Vairagya does not mean literally that you have to become a monk. But internally one must become monk-like. Any sadhaka internally must become monk-like. Without taking your drishti, your gaze from the anatma, you cannot realize the atma. Without taking off your drishti from the limited parichinna, you cannot realize the aparichinna, the limitless. Without taking the drishti away from Jagat, you cannot realize Brahman. People ask, please teach non-dual meditation. Non-dual meditation. You know what is the definition of non-dual meditation? Nididhyasana. Sajatya vritti pravaha vijatya vritti tiraskar. The negation of dissimilar vrittis, thoughts, and a procession of similar thoughts. What is the procession of similar thoughts? Similar thoughts similar to what? Aham Brahmasmi. I am Brahman. That thought, that realization. Have a procession, let the mind stay on that. Aham Brahmasmi. These are Sajatya, these 3 verses which we did. You don't have to keep repeating Aham Brahmasmi like a mantra. You can repeat Aham Brahmasmi, Ayam Atma Brahma. You can repeat Pratasmarami, Riddhi Sanskura, Atma Tattvam. These are all Sajatya. But it should not intrude that it's so hot. Or will I get parking? Or what's for dinner tonight? Those are Vijatya. That should not intrude. Then only it is called non-dual meditation, Nididhyasana. But that Vijatya vritti tiraskara, that negation of dissimilar vrittis, that itself is vairagya. If I have strong attachments to the world, and then I say I will do non-dual meditation, it won't work. Many people come to an understanding of Advaita Vedanta, but then they will complain, I have understood it, but my life has not changed. For the life to change, you have to go back to the beginning of Advaita Vedanta, where they say Viveka, Vairagya, Shamadamadi, Shat Sampatti, Mumukshutvam Cha, Sadhana Chatushtaya Sampatti. It starts with Viveka and proceeds to Vairagya, dispassion. So, the understanding, what Viveka should you do? Jagat Mithya, Brahma Satyam, Aham Brahmasmi, Jiva Brahmaivanatara. This Viveka. Next will come Vairagya, because you will realize Jagat Mithya, it will lead to Vairagya. Automatically. It should. With eyes closed, with eyes open. With eyes open, you are seeing an illusory display. Why will you be attracted to anything? Why will you be afraid of anything? What is in our dream? What is in the movie? We are neither attracted nor afraid. Really speaking. In the heat of the moment, in the movie, one may like one's favorite character. One may become very angry at the villain. But really you are not. Really you are neither liking nor disliking. Because you know it is not there. Hai hi nahi. As one sadhu told in Gangotri, Dikhta hai Mahatma ji, hai nahi. Jagat Mithyatva. It produces an appearance. I have told that story many times, but it's close by. We went to the Himalayas this time, thanks to Revered Maharaj. I was remembering Punjabi Sadhu, Lakshman Das ji. I used to attend his Ashtavakra class. So he said, I'll tell you in Hindi at last. I think almost everybody understands Hindi. He said once, he said to me, तो महात्मा जी एक बार टीवी वाले आए, and they wanted to show him what is TV. They were taking pictures of Ganga. तो वो लगाए अपना बक्सा लगाए और कैमरा उस गंगा की ओर किया. तो महाराज जी सब दिखा. वो बक्सा में गंगा जी दिख रही है, वो कल कल शब्द हो रही है. I can see it, I can hear it. तो मैंने उनसे पूछा, बाबू इससे एक गिलास गंगा पानी दो. Give me one glass of Ganga water. And then he said, अरे महात्मा जी ये तो दिखता है इसमें है कुछ नहीं. It looks like that, it's not really there. Then that Swami, that monk turned towards us. We were sitting at his feet. You have to imagine the view, towering mountains all around Gangotri. At that time there was snow on the top of the mountain, but not where we were sitting. And Bhagirathi rushing torrentially just at our feet. And we were sitting around him. And he said, and Deodar forests all around, with a sweep of his arms, he said, तो महात्मा जी ये ऐसे ही है, दिखती है सब, है कुछ नहीं. जगद अशेष अशेष भूतौ रज्ज्वाम भुजंगमिव प्रतिभासितं वै, Shankaracharya says. One very nice description I got from Michael Singer in his book The Untethered Soul. So there he says, imagine you go to a movie. Nowadays, so imagine the hall is dark and big screen, very overwhelming. Now make it 3D. But it is actually not even just flat, but like physical forms, 3-dimensional. Then Maharaj has done 4D, 5D. Have you seen in the display? If you have not seen, I strongly recommend you should go and to the Delhi Ramakrishna Mission. There is a display of Swami Vivekananda underneath the temple. So multimedia, this 4D, 5D demonstration. What is 5D? So you can see, obviously. Like I'll describe what you see. You are walking with Vivekananda at Kanyakumari. And it's immersive. If you look around, you can see the sky above. If you look around, the normal screen you will see only this. If you look around, you can't see. But here you can see, you are surrounded by it. If you look up, you will see the sky. If you look below, the rocky land. In front, the Indian Ocean is there. Then you see Vivekananda walking past you, a young man. And where you are sitting, the seat is moving, so you can get the feeling of motion. And the most interesting thing is, and then jumps in, you can see the water splashing and coming towards you. And the most interesting thing is, the water comes towards you, there is a squirt of water that falls on your face. Actually, you feel the water comes to your face. So it can be simulated. The Michael Singer says, suppose you go into such a movie, some futuristic system like Maharaj has set up, there you not only see all this, you also hear, but you can also move, and you can smell, you can taste. When the laddu is given, you can taste it, you can touch it, and you can interact and talk with the people there. And your body is also part of it, projected into virtual reality. But even more so, suppose your thoughts are blanked out and new thoughts are introduced into your mind. The thoughts of that character in the movie. The emotions of that character are projected into your mind. And you are sitting in a hall and watching this, that is blanked out. Ajnana, avarana. How will you feel? You will feel totally like a character in that movie. This is exactly what is going on now. We have been projected into this movie. Jagadashesha shesha mukta rajvam bhujanga vivagati bhasitam. Alright. Vairagya. Even while seeing the movie, you will have vairagya. But this is just preliminary. There is a deeper reason for Jagat Mithya, the falsity of the word. Why? Rajvam bhujanga vivagati bhasitam vai. Like the snake seen in the rope. How will you correct the error? By seeing the rope. You can't struggle by saying it's not a snake, not a snake. You have to see the rope. Then you will realize it's not a snake. The adhisthana jnana, the knowledge of the ground of illusion, will cancel, negate the illusion. Adhisthana jnana. Now, here in this case, this is word, Brahman is appearing as this word. How will you negate the illusion of the word? By realizing Brahman. That I am Brahman, that you have to realize. Now let me ask you the question. Snake rope. Where is the snake? There. Where it's appearing. Where is the rope? Where is the rope? There itself. There itself. Exactly that which you are seeing as the snake. Because it's not a real snake, it's a real rope. Because it's a false snake. False snake means what? That means there is no snake. Something else is appearing as something else. Atasmin tad buddhi, the definition of Shankaracharya. That is adhyasa, superimposition. Since it is something else, the rope is appearing as the snake. That means the rope is there exactly where you are seeing the snake. That exact thing which you are seeing as the snake is exactly the rope. Similarly, if Jagat is mithya, where is Brahman? Here. Which one is Brahman? This one. When is Brahman? Now. And past and future. All the time. Where is Brahman? Here. And everywhere. Who is Brahman? Everyone. But especially you. Why you? See, if Brahman is something other than me, Sadhu said, "Hum to tab Brahman se kam ho gaye na." It is Brahman minus me. It can't be Brahman then. It's not infinite. Infinite means there must be nothing other than it. Nothing can be excluded from it. So you are Brahman. And you are Brahman and Brahman is you. This is the implication, the deeper implication of Jagat Mithyatva. Jagat Mithyatva means Jagat is Brahman. Sri Ramakrishna would say both things. Sometimes he would say word is false. Somebody asked him, teach me spirituality in one sentence. And Sri Ramakrishna said to him, Brahman is real, the world is false. He did not even say Jiva is Brahman. He just said, Brahman is real, the world is false, realize this or contemplate this. Eti dharana karo. Swami Brahmananda says, after seeing this, Sri Ramakrishna kept quiet. He even adds this. That means nothing more need to be said about spiritual life. At other times he has said, someone asked him, is the world false? He said, why should the world be false? Now look at his answer, we'll understand immediately. He said, why should the world be false? It is a process of Vedantic reasoning. It is a process of Vedantic reasoning. Falsity of the world is a process of Vedantic reasoning which shows you where, what Brahman is. That this is Brahman. This is the implication of Jagat Mithya. Advaita can be realized by negating Dvaita. That negating Dvaita is Jagat Mithya. Because Advaita is the same word, this one itself. Somebody asked me just 2 days ago, I like this Advaitic teaching which you are giving Swamiji, but we are always engaged in Dvaita. I said, Nahi ji, yehi Advaita hai, this one. With eyes open Advaita, with eyes closed Advaita. In waking world Advaita, in dream world Advaita, in Sushupti Advaita. Why? This Turiya is there in waking, dreaming. Swapna Jagara Sushuptam Avedi Nityam. Where is Turiya? Here. Where is the gold? This is necklace. It's like saying, I like gold, but all the time I have to deal with necklace and bracelet. You are dealing with gold all the time. Literally with gold. You are dealing with Brahman all the time. This is the deeper meaning of Jagat Mithyatva. It points out Brahman to us. It shows us we are always immersed, surrounded by Brahman, and Brahman is nothing but you, and you are nothing but Brahman. So let us read through the 3 verses, and then we will have a little question answer. You can see, power-packed 3 verses. All of Advaita Siddhanta has been packed into it. Actually, I could go on more. Swamiji, with whom we met, he recently gave talks in Haridwar, Kankal, on Pratasparana. So 3 verses, 12 lectures, each of more than 1 hour. So to unpack this, it requires much more time. There's a lot to be said here. Shankaracharya has poured all of the Upanishadic knowledge into this and has packed in secret little arguments here and there. You have to look for the clues. I have brought out a few of those interesting ones and presented before you in the last 3 days. Please repeat after me. प्रातस्मरामि हृदि संस्फुरत् आत्मतत्त्वम् प्रातस्मरामि हृदि संस्फुरत् आत्मतत्त्वम् सच्चित् सुखं परमहंस गतिं तुरीयम् सच्चित् सुखं परमहंस गतिं तुरीयम् यत् स्वप्नजागर सुषुप्तमवेति नित्यम् यत् स्वप्नजागर सुषुप्तिमवेति नित्यम् तद्ब्रह्म निष्कलमहं न च भूतसङ्घः तद्ब्रह्म निष्कलमहं न च भूतसङ्घः प्रातर्भजामि मनसा वचसामगम्यम् प्रातर्भजामि मनसा वचसामगम्यम् वाचो विभान्ति निखिलाय तदनुग्रहेण वाचो विभान्ति निखिलाय तदनुग्रहेण यन्नेति नेति वचने निगमावोचम् यन्नेति नेति वचने निगमावोचम् तं देवदेवमजमच्युतमाहुरग्र्यम् तं देवदेवमजमच्युतमाहुरग्र्यम् प्रातर्नमामि तमसः परमर्कवर्णम् प्रातर्नमामि तमसः परमर्कवर्णम् पूर्णं सनातनपदं पुरुषोत्तमाख्यम् पूर्णं सनातनपदं पुरुषोत्तमाख्यम् यस्मिन्निदं जगदशेषशेषमूर्तौ यस्मिन्निदं जगदशेषशेषमूर्तौ रज्ज्वां भुजङ्गमिव प्रतिभासितं वै रज्ज्वां भुजङ्गमिव प्रतिभासितं वै. Good. We will have the same format for question answers. So you raise your hands, our volunteers will go to you. So the people will give preference to those who have not asked questions yesterday. So people can start from the back and some from this side. Yes.
Pranam Swamiji.
Yes.
Infinite gratitude for the lecture. Swamiji, I want to ask, when J.D. Krishnamurti used to say, observer is observed, and one is, Swamiji, you said in dreams, subject and object becomes one, but why it is so difficult in the waking state?
Observer is the observed. I can give, I don't know what J.D. Krishnamurti meant by it, but I can give an Advaitic explanation of it. An Advaitic makes sense. So in dream, it's not that the subject becomes the object. In dream, you clearly are the experiencer and you see, experience dream objects. Don't you see plants and sky and earth and people? You can also see yourself in the dream. So subject and object is there in the dream. Subject and object become one indistinguishable mass in this called prajnana ghana, in deep sleep, but not in dream. However, dream is a good way of understanding that observer is the observer. Whatever you see in the dream is you, the dreamer. Is that not true? When we wake up, we realize, if I met our friends and had a cup of tea in the dream, when we wake up, we realize neither was the friend there, nor was there a cup of tea there, not even I was there. The whole thing was a projection of myself, the dreamer. Correct? So in that sense, you, the observer, the dreamer, is the dreamt. The dreamed of objects and the dreamer are one and the same. This observer is the observed. In that sense, I can say. Because in Advaita Vedanta, we do this distinction between drashta and drishya. Whatever you see is distinct from yourself as the seer. You are drashta and drishya is something separate from you. But that's only preliminary. That's only preliminary. One sadhu said, ये जो वेदांती दृष्टा दृश्य करते रहते हैं ना, ये कच्चे वेदांती हैं. These are unripe Vedantis. Because Vedanta is not separation. Vedanta is oneness. That separation is done to realize the underlying reality where oneness can be claimed, oneness can be recognized. The separation of drashta and drishya in your language, or J.D. Krishnamurti's language, observer and observed. It is true that the observer is separate from the observed. Drashta is separate from drishya. But drishya is not separate from drashta. What does it mean? You are separate from what you see in the dream. No doubt about it. You existed before the dream. You exist during the dream. You exist after the dream. But the dream does not exist, it did not exist earlier, appeared for a while and is not there afterwards. And even when it appeared, it actually did not exist apart from you. So the observed in the dream did not exist apart from you, even when you are observing it. And the Advaita Vedanta claims that is true here also. When you take yourself as consciousness, remember, not as this person, as awareness. In that awareness, this person also appears and everything else also appears in that awareness. So what appears in the awareness is not separate from the awareness. It is awareness appearing to itself as its own object. Or, in the language of Jiddu Krishnamurti, it is the observer appearing to itself, himself, herself, whatever, appearing to itself as the observed, in that sense. Why is it so difficult here? Isn't it difficult during the dream also when the dream is going on? It's only after waking up we say, oh, it was the same thing. It was my mind only which appeared in that way. We can say like the sadhu, hai kuch nahi, dikhta tha sab. That's the dream. The difference is the sadhu can say it here also. In the waking state also can say, hai kuch nahi, maatma ji, dikhta hai bas. We find it very difficult. Why? How did we manage to say that about the dream? It's only by finding out the ground of the dream, the waking state, from you the dreamer, when you realized, oh, I am the dreamer, then the dream became false. Dream falsity, upon waking, allows you to say, what you saw in the dream is nothing apart from the seer. The dream is not apart from the dreamer. The observed is not apart from the observer. Similarly, here also, we must wake up from this dream of samsara to the underlying reality. We must see the rope by negating the snake. Then we will be able to say that this world is nothing, the observed is nothing apart from the observer. The drishya is nothing apart from drashta. Will be able to say that when we appreciate the ground of this appearance, world appearance, which is consciousness, which is our real nature. Then we can say observed is nothing apart from the observer. One sadhu put it nicely. He said, ये तो ठीक है कि दृष्टा दृश्य से अलग है, लेकिन आपने कभी सोचा है क्या दृश्य दृष्टा से अलग है? You are right, you are as observer, you are distinct from what you observe. But have you ever thought what you observe, is it distinct from you? So in our minds is that this world is real, it's deep in our minds. It is there and I am seeing it. So if you say I am separate and the world is separate, that much I can accept. But the world is nothing but my seeing it, that is difficult to accept. Because it's deeply ingrained in us, this world is real. How real is this world? As real as the body. It is because we have taken the body to be real and ourselves to be real, this world appears as real to us. Krishna therefore says, Advaita Vedanta is difficult. Avyaktahi gatir dukkham deha vadbhiravapyate. Advaita is difficult for the embodied. We are all embodied. It's difficult for us? No. Those who take themselves to be the body. That's what he means. For them, Advaita becomes difficult. You step back from the body into your consciousness nature, then it's not so difficult at all.
Pranam Swamiji. My name is Divankar and thank you so much for enlightening us today. We've been following your talks on the Vedanta channel that you follow. So I have Swamiji 2 questions. First is like, does past life karma plays a factor in enlightenment current life? Past life karma plays a factor in the enlightenment in the current life?
Right.
And I have a second question as well.
Okay, first question is, does past life karma play a factor in enlightenment, determining enlightenment in the present life? Yes, a part of the karma from the past life is supposed to be actualized in this life. It's called prarabdha karma. Definitely plays a role. It is your karma which has brought you into contact with Vedanta. It is your karma which has brought you in contact with, has given rise to this inquiry. Karma brings you in contact with Guru, with Shastra, with a conducive environment and generates an inquiry about spirituality. Yeah. So yes, it plays a role. Good karma is always useful. Good karma is useful in the worldly sense and in the spiritual sense. Not only dhyana, bhakti, dhyana, all of this. tell you something very interesting and little disturbing also, which I read. Swami Brahmananda was once asked, all the other Swamis gave so much instruction about spiritual life. Swami Brahmananda would make either small talk, laugh, joke. He was the most spiritual of all of them. Even Vivekananda said he's more spiritual than me. But he would hardly give any instructions. And he did, it was a few instructions only. So somebody asked him, why don't you give us spiritual instructions to people when people come? And he says, Janaki, sadhan bhajan korte hole purva janme shukriti chale. You need a lot of good karma from the past life to be a sadhaka in this life. That's all he said. So, yeah, past karma. But we have got what we have now. And it's lucky that we have got this interest, which means we have some good karma.
My next question would be like, we are kind of the household devotees. So there were many household devotees of Thakur as well.
Yes.
And they got enlightenment. And so, there's also a saying that to get enlightenment, like you need to have a monastic life, you need to go through a monastic life. So what should a householder like us do?
As I just said, formal monasticism may or may not be needed, but internally a monastic attitude, monk-like. I have said this earlier, the monkey mind should become the monk mind. Internally. Externally, one may be a monk, one may be a householder, that all depends on one's prarabdha karma. But most important is internally, vairagya. Vivekananda said the crucial turning point. This is the turning point in spiritual life, the turning point, beginning, the foundation of all the yogas. The turning point in yoga comes with dispassion, vairagya. Whether you are a karma yogi, bhakti yogi, jnani, whichever yoga you take up, that vairagya has to come. That is the monk mind. Somebody from that side? Where is the microphone? Yes.
I wanted to ask whether suffering of body and mind, does it have a purpose in life?
The Vedantic perspective is all of life is ultimately meant to bring us to enlightenment. So in that sense, everything has a purpose. What's the final purpose of everything? Our suffering, our enjoyment, our life, our birth and death, all these experiences we go through. The end of all experience is knowledge. So Swami Vivekananda begins his karma yoga. The goal of experience, the goal of this world, life, is experience, is knowledge, not enjoyment. And Krishna says, Sarvam karmakhilam partha jnane parisamapyate. All of this will lead us to enlightenment, ultimately.
Yeah.
One thing you can do is make a selection and give the microphone to the next person so the person can be ready with the question. Yes.
Yeah, Pranam Maharaji, and thank you so much for such a wonderful session. I have two observations and one question. I'll quickly make them. About Jagat Mithyatum, it is a statement made by Puri Shankaracharya ji. He humorously said that बहुतों की तरह हम जगत का गला घोट के उसको मार नहीं देते, हम उसको अमृतत्व प्रदान करते हैं. The second statement is the Brahman is not different from us. It is statement made by Swami Akhandananda Saraswati. He says, if Brahman is different from us, तो वो जड़ हो जाएगा. Now the question is, when the question comes of this theoretical knowledge coming into practicality and making our lives fulfilled, there is a sloka in Bhagavad Gita which says, Madchita Madgat Prana Bodhayanta Parasparam. Right now we are doing Bodhayanta Parasparam. It also says then Nityam and then Tushyanti cha Ramanti cha. Where the difference I find in my life is Tushyanti cha Ramanti cha, it doesn't come down in the life. So how can we make this different and
Yes.
that's the question. Yeah. Thank you.
The first one, when you quoted Akhandananda Saraswati, he was saying, no, you quoted Puri Shankaracharya, Nishchalananda Saraswati. He's saying that हम जगत मिथ्यात्व जगत को मार नहीं देते, उसको हम अमृतत्व प्रदान करते हैं. That is exactly what we were discussing. That jagat mithyatva means it is Brahman. This world is Brahman, actually, in knowledge. In ignorance, it is world. Sri Ramakrishna, Hari Maharaj, Swami Turiyanji says, Sri Ramakrishna considered the world to be true as Brahman, which is the same thing. Somebody said Sri Ramakrishna did not say world is false. He said it number of times. In fact, what he did not say unqualified that the world is true. He always said world is true qualified by saying as Brahman. What do people generally look at the world as? Do people in the world right now, do people in the world see the world as Brahman? No. They see the world as world. That world is false. That's what is Advaita Vedanta is saying. Which people ordinarily experience and consider to be the world. Minus Brahman. That world is an appearance of Brahman. The second thing you said was, quoting from Akhandananda Saraswati ji, I'll combine what you second thing you said and your question. Tushyanti chalamanti cha. It seems the joy and that peace and the bliss, satisfaction, tushyanti, ramanti, they enjoy, they are in great bliss in discussing Vedanta. Well, how will we get that joy? One kind of intellectual joy one gets, that's why we are all sitting here. But the real spiritual joy, how does one get? You get it by making it real. If you say, I understand it, but I am not getting the joy. The answer is right there in your statement. We are thinking that it is some kind of, a knowledge, a kind of philosophy. It is, but it's also, the more we understand Advaita Vedanta, the more we see it's an actual, accurate description of reality as it is. As it is right now, it's a more accurate description of reality. What we see as reality is without vichara. When we inquire, we come to the Advaitic truth. Let me give you an example. When you quoted Akhandananda Saraswati saying that if Brahman is different from us, वो jada हो जाएगा. This Brahman being different from us becoming jada. Some of us will not understand what is said here. Some of us will understand. I understand it technically. If Brahman is different from me, I am consciousness. Brahman different from me, it will become an object of consciousness. So it will become jada, it will become an object. That's the meaning. But is it saying something real to me now? Real means, is it a fact right now? Brahman different from me becomes jada. Yes, because right now I am Chaitanya, aware. Is it a fact or is it theory? It's a fact. And if something appears to consciousness, then it will become an object of consciousness, fact or theory? Fact. These are appearing to consciousness. You are all seeing this table and bottle and Swami. These are all objects to you. You are aware. So these are objects to you. You are Chaitanya. So these are all jada to you. If Brahman was separate from me, it would become jada. It's a statement of fact. The more you begin to see it this way, the more you will enjoy it. It's continuously talking about reality right now. Vedanta is continuously talking about me as I am right now. And showing me my sublime nature.
Sir, is it called self-evident?
It is self-evident. But one needs to clear away the cloud of ignorance. If it was self-evident, we wouldn't need Vedanta. It's only when you go through Vedanta, you begin to see it is self-evident. Okay.
Good evening, Swami. Good evening to both of you. Thanks to your Gita classes that in YouTube I got interested. I have two questions. The first one is that I have seen in one of your videos where you refer that Jnana Yoga is the direct path for self-realization. Now, is it then a constraint for those who do not have access to that classical literatures or texts or references, or that can be achieved through gurus and maybe they are preparing in the next generation to achieve that, to come to the level of Jnana Yoga?
Access to the classical literature, at one time it was a problem, but now it's not such a problem. All the literature has been translated into English, into Bengali, into Hindi.
I am referring to those who are not having they were not formally educated also. Who cannot read those texts or like.
Okay, suppose you cannot read it.
Yes.
Then you can have access to teachers. There have been wandering monks throughout the length and breadth of India. Even if a person is illiterate, you can go and sit next to such a person and listen. Next you will say, suppose the person cannot hear.
No.
Once Revered Bhutishanti Maharaj was giving mantra diksha. So he told of a case when the person wanted mantra diksha. He said, all right, let him come. No, he's too sick, he cannot come. So all right, I will go. He actually went to that person and repeat the mantra. Oh, but I cannot hear. Write down the mantra and show him, but I cannot read. So now, everywhere in Hinduism, 101 different methods are there to transmit this knowledge. Suppose one does not understand Sanskrit, some does not understand philosophy, I'm not a subtle thinker like that. Can you teach me Advaita? All our Puranas, Ramayana, Mahabharata, Adhyatma, they all have the core ideas of Vedanta in the middle of stories.
And the second one is that prarabdha karma, if it is casted a wheel on our, ignorance has created because of that, if it is so, then maybe what was at the beginning? If there was no prarabdha karma at the beginning, then why the game has started and
What is it about? So it's not that prarabdha karma is creating ignorance. Ignorance creates karma. Avidya kama karma, according to Shankaracharya, is the phrase he uses. Because of ignorance of our Purnam nature. He says, teaches you are Purnam, but we don't feel Purnam. So because of our ignorance, when you don't feel Purnam, we have desire. I want this, I want to add it to me, then I will become Purnam. And then I engage in action, karma. And that action will give result. So action done with desire always gives result, sakama karma. Then I'm trapped in the wheel of karma. So this is the story. So ignorance, desire, karma. So ignorance comes before karma. Now you can ask, where did the ignorance first start? My answer will be, ignorance is beginningless. Anadi. Anadi. Ignorance does not have a beginning, but it has an end. Sa-anta, not shanta. Sa-anta, with end. When you start studying knowledge, when you get knowledge, ignorance goes away. So one might say here, what is this beginningless ignorance? You are trying to avoid the question. The question is, how did ignorance begin? And you are saying it's beginningless. It's avoiding the question. Don't say, no, I don't know. Why are you saying beginningless? No, actually ignorance is beginningless. And so it was, for the first time, it was explained to us by Professor J.N. Mahanti, Jitendranath Mahanti, who passed away just 2 years ago in university. He was a great scholar of both Eastern and Western philosophies. So once in Golpark, Ramakrishna Mission Golpark in Calcutta, he was conducting a class in Vedanta. Beginningless, same question, beginningless ignorance. And everybody was a little dissatisfied with that answer. What is this beginningless? So you said ignorance is always beginningless. Let me ask you, do you know German? So we said no. So are you ignorant of German? Yes. Since when did your ignorance of German start? With my birth. Also before birth you knew German? No. Ignorance of German, ignorance of XYZ, anything is beginningless. But it will come to an end when you start learning German. Similarly, ignorance of the self is beginningless. Ajnana is anadi, but sa-anta, sa-anta. When knowledge comes, when you start studying Vedanta, already ignorance is beginning to go away for all of us. When we do Vedanta Charcha, slowly it is beginning to shift. Yes.
But knowledge, there is no free will. How this ignorance is playing in the Brahman?
Alright, the last question there.
Namaskar, Swamiji. Swamiji, what
Is
do
it
we-
on or off?
What do we have to do
so that we do not forget Advaita when we face some severe personal crisis.
Regular practice. Regular practice here it means Shravana, Manana and Nididhyasa. Regular spiritual practice. Regular japa and dhyana, regular worship, regular karma yoga. So keeping your mind on this. This is the whole point of Vairagya. Take your mind away from the anatma to the atma, from the limited to the unlimited. That is Vairagya. That's why dispassion is necessary. You cannot have your attention on two things at the same time. When your attention is on the one thing, on your Ishta Devata, on Vedanta practice, on your selfless service, then severe personal crisis also will not throw you off too much. Maybe for a while, you will come back again.
Om Itagne Dahika Shakti Rama Vishne Sita Hiya Sarvavidya Swarupanta Sharada Pranamamya. We are extremely beholden to Sarvapriyananda for 3 days of such wonderful discourse on the Pratisparami Sutra Shampracharya. Finally, today on last day, the cat came out of the bag. The real thing is, it must have intense dispassion. Otherwise, we may year after year, but then it will remain only at the level of the mind. Yes, we seem to understand. Then how does it get transformed into a real life experience? Because it's a very real incident, little, but then it may be good to hear. This is somebody was talking about J. Krishnamurti. He used to have heard him like some 5,000, 4,000, 5,000 people would sit and listen, spellbound in the evening. In Adyar, below that banyan tree, he would address. And then in the morning, he hold a very small session for select few people who are very serious. Very few would come. So in the morning, when morning was going on, he's explaining. So he would pour his heart into it. I have not seen anyone speak like that in my life. Sir, what is death? He was explaining so passionately about death. So after listening for half an hour, somebody from behind and, sir, can you explain death? Oh my God. He said, for a couple of minutes he didn't speak. Then he said, day after day, you will come and listen to the lectures and go back and lead the same hellish, brutish life of sex, violence, jealousy and whatnot. You will not understand death. Close the book like that. So, hearing is, of course, is very much sincere. It's the beginning. But then the core really how the world possesses us. Do we develop that aniha, disinterest? Does the world look बहुत हो चुका है? That kind of thing. That's the real beginning of Vairagya. And that's when these scriptures will slowly start transforming our life. Of course, the self is wonderful. 3 days. I was so amazed with such seriousness. And I think in all my 50 years of public life, I have never had a session where not even once the mobile sound was there. That shows how interested they were, and I think I would compliment Gurgaon devotee. They really a notch above the other cities. They have so much of discipline. I hope for other lectures also we will follow the same procedure. Thank you very much. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Tat Sat. Shri Ram Krishna Arpanamastu. Let's wait for a few minutes now.